Hey there, my name's Sam. I'm a multimedia artist and designer, and I've got 15 years of experience using Photoshop. But one thing I can tell you is that every time I use it, I learn something new. Today, we're going to learn a little bit about color correction in Photoshop. Now, I'm using Photoshop CC for Mac, but as far as you're concerned, it wouldn't matter much whether you're on Windows, whether you have the latest version of Photoshop or one from 10 years ago. All the information I'm going to teach you today is still going to apply no matter what version of Photoshop you're using. I've been getting a lot of emails asking me about color correction. Now, in an ideal world, you would never need to correct the colors. You'd be able to just take the photograph inside of a studio setting where you could control every facet of every single light. But that's just not the way of things. Sometimes you're taking photographs out in the world, and you can't very well expect the sun to move to accommodate your photograph. And when that happens, it's time to use our Photoshop skills. Now when I crop this image, I want to make sure not to take too much headspace off the top. We need to get it just about right so that there's a little bit of room around the head, but we're not scalping anyone, you know what I mean? And let's make sure that we've got this photo nice and centered in the frame. Hit enter and the photo is cropped. Now that we've got the photo cropped just the way that we want it, it's time to start correcting the colors. Now there's more than one way of going about doing this. There's destructive color correction and there's non-destructive color correction. If I was to go to the image menu and select adjustments and levels, then I could adjust the colors, but I would do it in such a way that it overwrites the original data. For instance, if I turn the colors up or down, lighter or darker, that would affect the original data and I wouldn't be able to roll back. So instead, let's create an adjustment layer, use levels, and you'll notice that the menu is very similar. I can use this black marker to adjust the darkest part of the photo, this white marker to adjust the lightest part, and this gray marker adjusts the center. So we'll even that till it looks just about right. And at this point, we still have the ability to go back to the original image data if need be. But let's move forward. Let's go and take a look at our vibrance. Now, vibrance is something where it's easy to go overboard. In this case, I really like the colorful costumes, but if I put the vibrance up too high, then skin tones start to look a little wonky, like everyone has a terrible sunburn. But since I use non-destructive methods, I can take a look and I can just use the parts of the vibrance adjustment layer that really benefits me and wipe out. Using a masking layer, I can wipe out the vibrance over the skin. So I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to make sure that my masking layer is selected. I'm going to use a black paintbrush to paint out the parts of the mask that don't suit me, or the parts that I just don't want to be there. In this case, I'm going to use the black paintbrush and paint over all of the skin so that the skin doesn't take up too much vibrance. This way, my photos don't look quite so terribly sunburnt, but everyone can still have a nice, vibrant costume. So I'm gonna use this black paintbrush to mark out the masking layer over arms and skins and faces, but not mark over anyone's clothing. Now if I look at the masking layer again, like so, I can see all the parts where I painted over, and I want to make this nice and smooth as I reasonably can. So if I miss a spot, looking at the masking layer by simply Alt and clicking on the masking layer will let me know where I've missed a little bit. Let's take a look and make sure that we mask out all of the skin, all of the flesh tones on this lady as well. Get her arms and her face, and maybe I should take another look at that masking layer, make sure I didn't miss a spot. Oh, there we go, I missed a little spot right there. Let's get that. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's destructive versus non-destructive, and because I'm using these masking layers, I can always go back in and fix anything that I don't like. You know what, come to think of it, there's a little pixel that's a little bit screwy here. This might just be an error from how the camera was initially capturing the image data, but I can fix this in Photoshop. First off, I'm going to duplicate the original layer. And this is just another non-destructive technique so that I can always go back. And I think the tool to use here would be the healing tool. Now, I'm using my bracket keys on my keyboard to adjust my brush size for the healing tool. I'm just going to paint that over his nose, and just like that, we fixed that errant pixel. Perfect. You can't even tell that there was ever a problem there. So let's see here. I've got my adjustment layers, I've used levels, and I've used vibrance, but now it's time to hit the photo filters adjustment layer. There's my photo filters. I don't want this warming filter. I think I want to make it so that the sky looks nice and blue. Let's try the blue filter. No, that's not quite right. Let's try... Nah, even if I slide that slider, that's not the kind of blue. Let's try cyan. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. So by setting the cyan layer, the sky is no longer white, but instead it's a little bit more like the sky blue that we expect the sky to look like. But I don't want that to apply to the whole layer. We don't need everything looking cyan. So I'm going to paint the whole masking layer black. And then I'm going to take that paintbrush tool again, and I'm going to use a white paintbrush just to paint in the bits of sky that I actually want to be cyan. I don't want the whole photo turned cyan, of course, just the sky. So I need to make sure that I get all the white parts of the sky, make sure that they're nice and blue like your human eye might expect the sky to look. To the camera, the sky is much, much, much brighter than the ground. But to our human eye, we expect the sky to be only a little bit brighter than the ground. Now I can turn that layer on and off so that I can see the difference. This is one of the benefits of non-destructive image editing. I can always double check to make sure that I'm moving in the right direction and not making the photograph worse than it was before. Let's take a look at another adjustment layer. I think I might want to do one more photo filter and generally cool the tone of the overall photo. So let's take a cooling filter, maybe this one. I like it, but I feel like it's just a little bit too strong. So you know what we can do? We can take this whole layer and we can adjust the opacity of the entire layer. So instead of being 100% on or 100% off, let's say we adjust the opacity down to 50%. Yeah, I think that's just about right. What do you think? Now that we've got the opacity turned down a little bit, we might want to take a look at that sky adjustment layer that we worked on a moment ago. We can always take a look at the masking layer, make sure that I've got it painted in right. But now that there's another masking layer there, this sky blue almost seems a little too blue. So let's turn this layer down to 50% as well. Now I'm using 50%, but it could just as easily have been 49% or 51%. Any percentage number that you feel works best. And let's make sure that we save this. Wouldn't it be a terrible shame if the computer crashed and we accidentally lost all of our data? Goodness knows I've never accidentally lost all of my data before. No, sirree, that would never happen to me. Actually, that is a lie. I've definitely lost my files before. I feel like there's a gremlin that lives in the computer and knows when I'm working really hard on an important file and makes the computer crash then. Once I've got it saved as a PSD file, I can also save a JPEG as well, which makes it a little bit easier for me to share this on the internet. So let's do a quick look at these different layers, make sure that we've moved everything in the right direction. I can always turn these layers off and back on so that I know that the adjustments that I've made are appropriate. Here's what the photo originally looked like, and here's with the levels and the vibrance and the cooling filter and the sky. So let's do a quick review of everything that we learned today. We learned about color correction, we learned about destructive versus non-destructive correction, we learned about adjustment layers including levels and photo filters, and we learned about how to use those masks to our advantage. Now, if you want to get really good at Photoshop, there's only 3 things you gotta do. Practice, practice, practice. I'm Sam the Man. I hope this video was real helpful to you.